All right, on the bench today out of a 2006 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo with a 3.7, we have the NAG1. And this is a four-wheel drive, or if this was a Mercedes, it'd be a 722.6, same thing. So what's going on with this? It was towed in from a wholesale account, does not move. And the story behind this ordeal comes from a very good wholesale account, probably dealing with them for 30 plus years. The owner of the car brought it in. I don't believe it started. So I know they had to put a starter in it, and I think they did other work to it as well. So when all the work was done, they started it up, went to back it out of the shop, had no reverse. Put it in drive, no forward. So the car basically didn't move. So they give us a call, let us know what's going on, and we says, well, the only thing we can kind of think of possibly is maybe the grommet deteriorated that's on the linkage here, and the cable fell off. So, I would certainly check that first. Checked that, called us back, everything was fine. And I says, the only thing I can think of at this point of what happened is something happened to the pump. The pump had to go bad. So long story short, when he contacted the customer, the guy didn't really want to put the money into it. So instead of selling the car to the owner of the repair shop, the repairs that he did to it, they called it even. And it's not, it's not that great, but it's not that bad. And I think the owner is going to use it probably as a station car now. So he says, pick it up, and I'm gonna do the transit. I'm gonna keep it as maybe a loaner car for his clients or something like that. So transmission's here on the bench, and pull the transmission out. I got it up on the bench, and of course the torque converter is stuck in there. So right away, there's definitely something going on with the pump. So if you see in all these aluminum filings here, is because I had the bell housing is part of the pump, so the bell housing is probably going to be bad. The pump body and gears are going to be bad. So all that's going to have to be replaced. But the only way for me to get this converter out is I have my hole saw, and I drill 2 holes here. I try to pry it out with a couple of pry bars, and that didn't do it. So I got a heavy hammer with like a C6 input shaft that I used to knock bushings in and shop bolts and stuff like that, and hit it on each side. In about 10 minutes, the converter was out. I had the converter here, and the pump bushing actually is like welded to the converter neck. So this whole front section is going to be no good when we take it apart. So that's what's going on with this. So we'll pull it apart and see how the rest of the transmission looks. Again, I know I'm going to need a bell housing and a pump body and gears for sure, because there's definitely not even a pump bushing in this thing, which I got some spare parts for this. So that's it. So what I'll do is I'll just slide the converter over here. I'll show you guys real quick, and then we can start taking this apart. I'm going to take this back section off. I'll take we can sip the bell housing off first and just take a look at that. I'll show you the pump and stuff. It's not going to be any good. And then we can flip it, get the pan valve body off, and the rest of the transmission. All right, so let me get a little closer, and we'll get started. Okay, so here is the converter, and you can see the pump bushing. I don't even know if that's going to come off. Not. Now, the pump bushing, and there's all kinds of slag here and stuff, so that's going to be wiped out. So here is the torque converter with the bushing on it, and here's the two. This cover is now shot because I was smacking this thing to get it out, but I had no other way of getting it out. I'm here by myself, and I got to get this thing apart because I can't keep up with the work here. So got to do what I got to do. All right, so let me just get this back section off here. These are T45s. I took most of the bolts out already just to kind of save a little time. Just take the bolts out, no big deal. All right, then we have, this is the transfer case, splines into here. You know, the piece on the transfer case looks something like this. You know, and sometimes these pieces strip out, sometimes these pieces strip out. So if you have no movement condition with some noise, chances are that's your problem. All right, so I got my socket. Let me just get my packed here. I try to knock the pins. It's a little tough to get in there. It's staked in a couple of spots, so I try to unstake it. I did the best I could, but it should come right out. There we go. Okay. There's the flange nut there. And here is this piece. Sometimes there's a shim. All right, the shim is still in there, so we'll just have to remember to get that out. All right. So I got going on a 545 RFE on this bench. I got a Honda 5-speed CRV here. U660 there, but this transmission is so bad it's not rebuildable. We're getting another one. And also, I got another Acura on the way out. So I'm going to do what I can do. I'm as far as I can go with the 545. Now I want to tear this down clean to see if I can locate parts. I got an overhaul kit, and at least I can get started. Okay, let's get these two out. Ooh, this thing stinks. Something's probably burnt up. All right, so let's take those pump bolts out, which also are torque 45. The stator, you know, will still be okay, but the bell housing will have to change. So this isn't the greatest here, and the pump gear, you know, the inside lugs are gone. The gear actually is cracked here, so I can't. This is all frozen in here, so this whole thing is gonna have to be replaced. Yeah, this is all no good here. Okay, all right, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take these inside bolts out, and that is a 30. stand this a little easier for me. All right, so I'm zipping these bolts out here. Okay. Let's see if we can get this up. There we go. Good. Here's the pump plate. Okay. Ready? Bell housing. So this here is the B1 friction. This here is the K1. Okay, feeling the K2 is probably going to be burnt, which is the input shaft, but this won't come out until the valve body comes out because of the speed sensors. So now I'm going to take this out here, and that has to come out before the valve body comes out, and that's a 7mm in there. Be careful not to over tighten this, or you'll be putting a new conductor plate in. Okay. Full bucket there, but there's no oil in this thing anyway. Probably all leaked out of the front. Okay, let's get these pants bolts down. It's also T30. All right, there's the pan, filter, all right, let's get the valve body off. Get a little closer here. Alright, so I'm going to zip this off and then probably have to switch my bucket, put you guys on hold for it. Okay. All right. Yeah, these clutches look like they're burned out. Okay. All right, just give me a few minutes. I gotta empty my one bucket into the waste oil tank and swap it before this thing overflows. I'll be back in a minute. Okay. Back with you. Here's one of the lugs to the pump gear. Thing probably seized and it just ripped the tabs off. All right, so let's pull this section out. And when you're working on this, you know, I had a problem one time with I think it was a 3/4 shift. I don't remember what the problem was. It was a transmission that I did for my account in Brooklyn that has the sprinters. He called me up and he said there's something wrong. There was a problem. I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe 3/4 shift. Whenever the K3 clutch gets applied, there was like a flared shift. So I air check these. I have a tool that I air check once the unit is together. I air check it through with this in the case, and you know, to me, it air checked okay. So when I got the transmission back, first thing I did was air check it, and you know, it didn't really sound too bad. And then what I did is I took it apart and I air checked. I don't know why this happened, or why it just seemed okay to me. And then I air checked the clutch right here with the output shaft, and there was a huge leak. You can hear it. So you can see this, no leak. And that was the problem. I put in a new output shaft to fix the car. But again, you know, I always air check this stuff, and honestly, if I would have been questionable, I would have taken it apart again, but it seemed okay. And then when I did it from here, forget it, it was worse. So always air check the K3 clutch when you're putting these together, just to make sure. It's the one and only time I ever came across that. So now I always air check it from here and in the case. But that's the one and only time I came across that. All right. Let me get a snap ring out here. Okay, we're going to get the B3 clutch out. There's the snap ring. Okay, here's the snap ring. There's the clutch. These generally are pretty good. Okay. Now we're going to get the B2, but first we got to take out the two torque 45s that hold the drum in place. Select that. And then we got the part here, and there's usually a shim. There is, right there. Okay, make sure there's not another one. So we're going to pick this up. Let me switch angles. We're going to knock that rear seal out because there is another shim. All right, there's the seal. Here's another shim. So just kind of keep them separate so you don't mix them up because they are different thicknesses. So you don't want to throw the clearance off. All right, now I got to get my snap ring pliers. Take the snap ring out and we'll get the bearing out. Okay. Snap ring. And clean up some of this oil, get organized. We'll take a look at the clutches, and we'll finish it up. All right? We'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, so let's start with the back section of the unit. K3 clutch, and this clutch comes on, I wasn't sure if it was honestly third or fourth, but it comes on in fourth, stays on, it's on in fourth and fifth, so had to be a 3/4 flare was the complaint. And when I got the transmission back, you know, again, that's what I found. So I'm going to take these two rings off here so the washers and stuff can slide off. All right, so we're going to take this off here. So we got the 3 pieces. We got the little hat goes down first, then the open face bearing and the cover. All right, so we can lift this off. Planetary. Okay, bearing here. These things fit into these little pockets here, if you can see that. And just make sure these bearings don't fall out when you're putting this back together. Okay, grease them in real good. Otherwise, you may not notice, and everything is not going to sit flat the way it should. Here is the race here. Okay, also this bearing here is going to come off. And then we have 3 more rings that we'll take off. All right, so this looks good. These clutches possibly look like they may be burnt. Okay, let's take a look. Oh yeah, they are. Out down here. Wow. Let me just see if I can smack them out. Yeah. This whole drum's got to be replaced. But there's nothing left of these. I can't even get this out here, so probably just replace this whole drum. Right, here is the F2 sprig. So let's get the snap ring pliers and get that snap ring out and take a look at the sprig. All right, going to spread it open. There it is. This will come out. Okay, the race looks good. And take the snap ring out. Okay, this is actually going to be updated. Okay, that's that. Let's take a look at the K2 setup. So we have a ring here. It's going to get the snap ring out. Move the ring here. Okay, we have a bearing race. These are shot, these clutches. And this, with the lip faces down, it goes right in there. Sometimes it's a closed bearing and sometimes it's an open face. All right, so here's the plan, and you can see this fell out already. So it's common for these and on this side to fall out, so make sure these things are in good, you know, and they stay in. Because the drum may move up and down, the K2 drum, these could fall out as you're putting it together. So just make sure everything is greased in. Okay. These are shot, clutches and steels. Pretty bad shape. All right, K1. Not bad. I am getting a banner kit. Here is the F1 sprig. All right, so of course this sprayer could fit either way, and to make sure you're putting it in the right way, you won't be able to see this, but there is an arrow right here that faces down. So if you're not sure which way it goes, look for the arrow. The arrow is going to face down. You put it in, and then you put the stack ring on. And this spray freewheels counterclockwise and locks to the clock, as they say. Okay. All right, let's get this here. B1. Alright, not bad. And we got to take a look at B2. And I wanted to tell you something about this. Alright, let's take a look. So this whole drum section is in like 4 pieces. So I got to just give you a... Make sure this, when you do this, make sure it goes together correctly. All right, not bad here. So we got the K2 and K3 clutches and seals wiped out. All right, so this piece is separate from here. There's a couple of pistons inside. And of course you have to put this together correctly because the 2 bolts have to go in here and here. So just know where this little window is kind of lined up with this hole here. And then what I do is I put this piston in, install it into here, put it into the case, physically screw the bolts in to make sure they're going to go in, and then take it out and finish putting the drum together. Now, the piston on the top, and I'll pull this apart and show you, but the piston on the top has this little bleed hole right there. Okay, and as you can see, this bleed hole is 180 degrees apart from this opening. Okay, and that's where it has to go. If you put it right next to it or in the wrong spot, you're gonna have a hard garage shift. So it's gotta go in that spot. All right, so this little window here and this bleed hole is 180 degrees, you know, on the opposite side. So let me just take this, go over to the footbrake, take this off so I can take the return spring out, and I'll show you. And then I think that is it. After that, we can take a look at the valve body again. So give me 1 second, I'll be right back. All right, so I took this out. Also, you know, if this is not in the right position, this little bleed hole, this piece won't go on because you got a little tab sticking down here, so it's a little insurance policy to make sure that goes in correctly. All right, because you got, so here's the window. All right, here is the bleed hole, and then you got 2 tabs here. So that's got to, these have to fit in the tabs, and then the little tab that faces down fits in here. That's my compressor, sorry. So when it's in correctly, it'll sit perfect. If it's not in correctly, you won't be able to get the snap ring. So just a little insurance policy that that piston goes in correctly. Okay. All right, so we'll take a look at the valve body. Let me just go shut my compressor, because I don't need it anymore, and then we'll finish it up looking at the valve body. All right, so real quick, valve body with the solenoids. These are your pressure solenoids, the modulating pressure and shift pressure. These 2 are the same, so if you're having an issue and you wanted to swap them, that's fine. You can swap them, they're exactly the same. You got 3 shift solenoids, 1, 2, 3. Also, they are the same. So you can swap those around, and then the lockup is all by itself. And then you have your conductor plate, which houses the speed sensor, because as you know, have a high failure rate, so that's going to be changed. And there's the valve body here, 10. So that's what that looks like. And that's it. So what I'm going to start doing now, because I got to leave for a little while, is I just want to track down my parts. I want to see if I can find the body and gears. The bell housing I want to clean, see the numbers, and I don't think I'm going to have that, but the body and gears I'll have, and this drum I should have. So I want to track down some parts, get organized here, and then I can start cleaning this thing up, and I don't know, maybe tomorrow or something, or whenever I'll start doing the overhaul. No real rush for this, I just wanted to get this thing apart. But very, very busy here. Always busy. It's either busy or real busy. And that's it. 06 Jeep Grand Cherokee, NAG1, or 722.6, no move condition. We found the pump, no good. Pump bushing is welded onto the converter neck. And chances are the oil leaked out because not much oil came out of here. But it's just it's very odd. I mean, I don't know if this thing moved or not because the car wouldn't start and it was towed in. So, you know, for this to happen, I don't know if this really happened as soon as they were done with their work and they started it up. It's possible it didn't move before. So I'm not really sure what the story is or if this happened before or after or what, but you know, they didn't really say anything. It didn't even look like really anything was leaking out of the front yet. There's really not much oil in here. So, okay. I thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. We'll see you next one.